Greetings to all of you out there in Ether land, wherever you're at, taking this class at Northern Arizona University in organizational communication. We have reached the end of our textbook, chapter 10. This is probably I'd say it's the most important chapter, and I think it does an excellent job of bringing together all of the components we've studied thus far in a pretty good way, though it doesn't really mention all those things by name. So let's dive into this and make some sense of everything we've been looking at. All right, organizational alignment is the goal here, and you'll notice that one of our options for a final paper here is what's called strategic alignment. We'll get to that in about the middle of this lecture. With that part, you probably want to watch closely if you've decided to do that option. Okay. Competitive strategies are the first area the book talks about, and essentially any organization needs to have a message, and this is whether you're a computer company like Apple. There's Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, two of the early founders of Apple, but every organization needs to have a message that goes out to the community that they're trying to serve. That should include an identity for the organization. What kind of organization is it? What kind of identity? This also depends on market analysis. The organizations aren't quite like a child that's born into the world that is going to exist for that child's entire life and needs to determine an identity. Rather, organizations come and go, while the people that work for them often continue on in the same career or have to change careers after an organization is no longer with us. So market analysis is very important, along with competitor analysis. And to really succeed and get a foothold in your world, even if that's in a volunteer organization that does good things for people in your community, you're still competing for donations from other organizations, with other organizations. There's only so much donatable funding in a community, and there's still some competitive aspects to that, some market analysis that needs to happen. I think the critical thing here is your organization needs some kind of compelling narrative, a story. What's the story going on? How are you shaping the need for your organization to exist and serve people, whether it's a for-profit organization or a nonprofit? But that compelling narrative, why are you there? Tell us the story of why your organization is there. I'm speaking to future leaders of organizations here. Some of you have an entrepreneurial spirit and gift that you will be developing throughout your career. Others of you may be promoted into management positions that require you to think about these kinds of things. What is your competitive strategy? And don't think that a church or another nonprofit organization doesn't have to be competitive in the world. There's always competition in this world. Okay, two types of strategies that you can use as one is a lowest cost approach to a business. We have the cheapest prices on products, and therefore we're going to be able to sell those. And I've got here pictures of Phoenix College, where I attended back in the 1990s for a couple of years, and what tuition was? $25, maybe $28 per credit hour. So a class, my Psych 101 class, my public speaking class, all of these I took were about $78 to $80 per class. That's a low-cost strategy compared to taking courses at Arizona State, where I eventually graduated. Now, just as an aside for you college students, don't hesitate to fill in some of your lower level credits at the community college level. There's some excellent teachers there that do a good job of preparing you for later coursework. And once you transfer those credits in to NAU, of course, then your degree is going to be from NAU. I probably completed 90 hours of coursework at Rio Salado Community College, Glendale Community College, Phoenix College. Did I take anywhere else? I'm not sure. I ended up getting another 50 hours from Arizona State University, but my degree was from Arizona State University. And really, when I applied for grad school, Syracuse University didn't care about the community colleges. They looked at what I earned from Arizona State. And from that point, you know, you're on. So your career is going to be impelled by the college you graduate from, not by the college you started at with some remedial courses, even if you need remedial math or some remedial writing courses. Take them. Take what you need to succeed, and take it at a lower cost college. But you do want to transfer for your final degree, of course, and many community colleges don't offer bachelors, though that is a rising trend in the country. But it's good to transfer to a university that differentiates, that NAU began as a teacher's college to supply northern Arizona with educators. It has since expanded. Its science departments have become more interested in research and being a research university. Our communication department is very inclusive of all aspects of communication, from electronic, from TV and radio, to what we're studying here, organizational communication, which is really a, you know, this class could be in a business department if we wanted it to be, but we want you to learn how to have good people skills in our department. So differentiation is that idea of your organization, your company has a different kind of product, something that makes you better than the others. Let's say you're buying an air conditioning unit for your house and you have your choice of 3 or 4 models. You want the low cost model, or do you want the one that differentiates itself by saying we have the most efficient model that's out there that will cool your house more efficiently and warm it more efficiently? So that would be a differentiation example. All right, every business has a life cycle, every organization has a life cycle, and hopefully it gets into maturity here. You can see, I mean, this is pretty simple stuff. And a mature organization can survive a very long time, though it does have to go through periods of kind of reinventing itself. My father's an artist, and he's started out his art career, and you know, we've got his paintings on walls in various family members' homes. And you can see the older paintings were realistic looking, but with kind of a twist to them, like it's that artistic look. And from there he went to doing very abstract paintings in the 1960s. By the late 70s, that was changing, even though he had been matured as an artist, and he began doing very realistic kinds of paintings of nature, of especially the structure of mountains and landscapes, showing the rock formations and how that affected structure. And each of these paintings being in some grand metaphor for the structure of society, the structure of the world, however you wanted to read that. And lately, after about 30 or 40 years of this kind of art, Dad just told me in his mature years that he's going to go back to abstract painting because the market is requiring that. His work isn't selling as well as it was, doing the very realistic, representational type paintings. Still in that artistic style, not like a photograph, but he's going back to abstract because the market wants that. So even at maturity, you still change, you evolve, it never ends. But a good example, I've got 4 cars here, was the Datsun company. You see the Datsun 510 up there at the top, and the Datsun B210 below that. And when Datsun first established themselves in California, in the United States, they had a operational manager here in the U.S. that he understood culture, and he knew for this Japanese company to succeed in the United States, he needed to be more American in the way he sold cars and the way he helped his dealers. So he would throw these big parties out at his California mansion. He bought a very ostentatious place. He wore a cowboy hat and had these steak cookouts and invite all the dealers, managers to come for the cookout, and persuading them, bribing them if you want, to buy Datsuns, put them out in your lot, become a Datsun dealer, and let's sell these cars. And it worked. And one of the things he had to do to make this work was to challenge his corporate leadership back in Japan. See, we have the birth of this company in America. It had already existed, they expanded to America, and in its childhood he had to do some challenging. And he told them, you know, the batteries aren't large enough in these cars. The cars don't start in the morning because it gets colder here in California than it does in Tokyo. And so can you build these with bigger batteries that can handle getting cold? And his Japanese CEO said, no. People in America can take the battery out of their car, take it inside the house for the night, and then take the warm battery back out to the car in the morning, reconnect it, just like we do here in Japan. And he knew that wouldn't fly. He kept pushing. They finally agreed to that, and it worked. And through his really tireless efforts, he led this American branch of Datsun through childhood into an adolescence. The Nissan Sentra came along, and finally in adolescence and maturity, Datsun dropped the Datsun name, which they only had in America and other countries, in favor of Nissan, the parent company's name. They were afraid that if Datsuns failed, they did not want to soil the name Nissan with a failure in America. So in maturity, they changed the names of the cars to Nissan. Datsuns disappeared in the mid to late 80s, sometime not sure when. And the company is in maturity and is even succeeding today with these hybrid cars. So businesses, organizations do go through a life cycle. Hopefully they reach maturity and stay established, but even in maturity they have to continue to compete, continue to change and evolve. Okay, strategic alignment model. In your textbook there's a diagram that just shows interconnecting arrows between all the parts of the model. I'm not sure how much that really helps us, but think of this as you've got an organization, for-profit, non-profit, doesn't matter. All of the elements of this organization need to be working towards the same goals in ways that really work together, which is the point of all the arrows on that diagram in the book. And what we have to do as organizational leaders is modify organizational systems and structures to support the competitive strategy. Are you differentiating? Is it the lowest cost product? Is it customer service? What is it your company does best that makes you worth doing business with? Well, the whole company needs to buy into that and be working in the same direction. You've got to be on the inside what your PR department is telling everybody you are on the outside. So, I'm going the wrong way here. All right, here we go. So I like this metaphor of the crew, it's called, on the racing boat there, and they all have to pull their oars in exactly the same time, and of course the same direction. That's the way they succeed. There are 7 elements to this model. We'll go through quickly, and I'm just kind of looking at the book here to keep my mind sharp. The strategy. Your company has to have a strategy. This is the differentiation part that differentiates you from the competitors, and this strategy has to be understood company-wide. Out of this strategy comes what we call these superordinate goals. If you just want to put the word goals there, that's fine, but the idea is the entire company understands these goals. We're going to be the best customer service company that there is. And let's say you're an auto mechanic and you want to get people in and out, have these cars fixed literally the same day or overnight if possible, and if that is how you're differentiating yourself, you can see how that really changes your structure, system, staffing, the skills, the style of your company, by really everybody buying into, we're going to get your car fixed as fast as possible and get you back on the road. The structure of the company should reflect that strategy in some way, at least symbolically. So if you're a very customer service oriented company, as the book says, you're going to have a company organizational chart that puts the customer on first, and the people that have direct contact with that customer are in very critical positions for the success of the company, and that your organizational leaders then really a prime part of their job isn't to bark orders at everybody like a captain does in the military, but to support what those frontline people need to get the job done. The systems of your company should all work in the same way. If customer service is what you're all about, you better have good communication systems where you can get problems solved by getting people on the line quickly, or at the desk next to you, or with just a text message or a computer messaging system. Right now, you can get answers you need, you can get decisions made. But all these systems, these are typically communication systems between people, perhaps even systems of moving product around and getting product where you need it quickly. Like with our auto mechanic, to get you fixed the same day, you've got to have a part delivered for that car before the day's out, giving the mechanic time to get it changed by quitting time when the customer would really like to pick up their car. Staffing. Your staff you have to have the right people in place to achieve these superordinate goals, and a customer service company, again, and this is from the text, needs to have staff that really have good interpersonal skills. And so in the hiring process, you're looking for people that communicate well. You could even do testing. In fact, I've suggested to some CEOs that thought it was a great idea but never did it because they're too busy. There's a certain personality test. It's online. It's called the Flag Page, I believe is the title of it. And it is a way to quickly, it's a 5-minute test somebody can do on the computer. They charge about $15. And they will give you a personality profile after just a 5 to 7 minute test. And everyone I've talked to that's taken that profile test says, dang it, this pegs me pretty good, right in the ballpark. Nothing's perfectly accurate, but you intend to agree with it based on the answers given on the quick test, which is really just selecting words from word lists about yourself. How do you describe yourself? And it goes through a series of words. Okay, your skills. Your staff needs to have the skills, of course. A lot of those skills have to come through training. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And that training has to be the right kind of training given to the right people. And again, all of this is going back to the strategy, the superordinate goals. And then the style of the company, its culture needs to really fit with these goals. So if you're a real customer service company, but you treat your employees like crap, and they come and go because they don't want to stick around, and you hire people flippantly, put them into positions knowing they're only going to last 3 months, that's not going to do well for your customer service goals. You have to have people that really begin to understand your system and know how to solve problems. Okay, so our assignment on this, the essay, if you choose to write this one, will really be to look at an organization that you're familiar with it and analyze it. How well does it do these 7 things? And typically most companies have a vision or goal statement that right on their website or right in the company materials or on the plaque in the lobby of the company. But then as you work there, you start seeing the other 5 aspects of it. And everything has to work together. And organizations get out of alignment. And the further they are out of alignment, the less likely they are to survive. You can feel it, you can sense it as an employee, and you want things to get aligned. Our jobs depend on it, right? My job at NAU depends on this university maintaining a pretty good alignment here. And sometimes these things get out of alignment, and sometimes you have to look for a new job at times. Often in lower level positions, you really don't have a lot of say other than you can point out to your manager and hope it works its way up the line. Strategic alignment is critical for organizational success over the long term. Organizations get out of alignment and they can get back into alignment with far-sighted managers that recognize the problem and have some skills in what to do about it. All right, talent. There's been a shift in organizations that we've seen from going from classical management, which is all about the system and people, not people, but the buildings, the factories with their equipment, and shifting towards people and technology, especially as our manufacturing base leaves the country. And even in some manufacturers that are still around, I have a friend who used to run a machine at a factory, And it was a fairly large machine. It was at a dog food factory, and all the ingredients went in on one side and the dog food bags came out the other end. He had two machines, and there were 4 people in the room that worked those machines, 2 people that actually operated the machines, and 2 other people that did maintenance on them and solved little problems as the machine operated, and they helped operate the machine as well. Over time, the company cut it back to 2 jobs, 2 people to operate the machines and take care of any maintenance issues with them. Then they cut it back to 1 job, from 4 employees down to 1 person, my buddy, Jim, who ran 2 dog food machines that spit out bags of dog food at each end, mixed with these precise formulas with, I think, Purina. And he was responsible to keep the machines running and to keep them repaired as they had mechanical problems. You know, that's just almost impossible. And then one day a whole batch of dog food came out that had the wrong blend and mix, and it didn't pass quality control. And they called Jim into the office and just read him the riot act and just totally discouraged him. He was ready to quit. He did quit a couple of weeks later, and just asking the impossible of a person. He was a very talented person. The company was shifting, it was still classically managed, and was just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, and didn't realize they'd gotten themselves right into a position where people and technology were more important than their machines there, having the right person to run these. And with a little bit of appreciation of their employees that remained, they might have kept a really good employee who could keep those machines running. And they should have realized once in a while there's going to be a problem if you squeeze this tight. I'm sure all of you out there have your own stories, and you've seen this trend in the manufacturing world over the past 2 decades even. Okay, so we need talented people in organizations. We have to look for the right people, and it's the job of management to find those people. We've been telling you as college students for years now, you need all these skills. You need to be talented to get these good jobs and hold good positions with a degree. In some industries that's true. In other industries you can get into those industries without the training we provide in college. Okay, targeted selection has to do with the necessity of senior leadership within a company to understand what they need in their people, what they need to achieve their competitive strategy, to design job qualifications, to get the right person. We're going through a process of that every year here at the university in hiring new faculty members, hiring administrators, and to get the right person, whoever designs that job description that we advertise has to understand exactly who we need to get the right person in the position. And far too often those positions are just duplicated from the last time we filled it and don't reflect that changes have happened or that the last person didn't work out so well. And it's just critical to aim at the right people, to pull in the right people into an organization. So targeted selection is a systematic interview process through which selected company experts assess job candidates on the key dimensions of each job. So this is critical to getting the right people into your organization. Performance management is the next aspect of the whole talent area here. In how do you assess how well people are doing their job? And I'm going to return to this at the end of the lecture because I think this is such a critical aspect of organizations that you need a little bit more on this than the 2 paragraphs in the book. Training and development is finally, once you hire people, you're going for the best people you can get often, but there are still training that needs to happen on specific machines and systems. And even as I came here from Indiana University, very experienced in online teaching, when I hired in, I had to learn Blackboard Learn. We used a different system back in the Midwest, and this Blackboard Learn, it took me a while to get it mastered, and I might have really struggled with it, but I had some web development skills under my belt from an earlier period in my career that really helped. And so training people in web development helps them to master a system like this. And some of you out there are going to be working in companies that are very web-based, and just having a little bit of HTML coding and whatever the latest kind of coding is for websites, you might find that very, very helpful as something that's difficult to train people in once they arrive. Okay, organizational development. People want to be inspired, and this, we're kind of getting to this idea of human resources in an organization. We went from classical management, then they brought in human relations to try to make organizations friendlier places, human resources to really help people to buy into the organization and be the best employee they can be. And finally, we've got systems theory that's coming along and reorganizing the way companies and organizations structure themselves, improving from the classical management that is so tempting for humans that want power, to just want to be at the top and give orders to everybody. But there's some deep inefficiencies built into those. But through all of this development of organizations, people want to be inspired. As a teacher, I need to know that you as a class appreciate what you're learning. And when I read student comments and I see that there's just not a lot of inspiration here, it pushes me to go back and find better ways to teach. In my case, one of those small things is to try to give these lectures not so long and boringly. Still working on that one. We'll maybe get it mastered by the time I retire. People want to be inspired. They are more likely to support something they help create. Keep these ideas in mind. Your employees need to be inspired by the company vision, the superordinate goals, the strategy of the company, and they need to see that and say, yes, this is something I can get behind. And then as they work with you, in as much as you can allow their creative efforts to help tweak and modify your systems to be more profitable, to be more effective, they're going to have just a greater buy-in, and the support level of your employees will literally increase quickly once they know it matters that I'm here, my ideas matter. And finally here, actions on the part of senior leaders speak louder than words. I think we all know that. And if we're all about customer service again, and you're treating people kind of crappy, you don't even have customer service within, or employee appreciation within your own organization, we have a problem. The book points out the Wall Street problems of all their talk on their organizational materials about ethics and integrity and doing business the right way. And then, as we have been learning the last decade, the Wall Street banks are literally criminal organizations run by sociopaths that get to the top. And I don't think I'm exaggerating here very much. There are probably a few good banks, but more and more banks are turning into this latest scandal with Wells Fargo and setting up 2 million customer accounts that the customers didn't even know they set up so they could meet their organizational goals, so they could show that their stock is worth more, so the stock rises in value because the company's doing so well, and the CEOs get bigger bonuses, people at the upper levels. And customers didn't even know they had an extra account that was actually getting charged fees. Actions speak louder than words. What do you imagine today the attitude of Wells Fargo managers at the local branch levels and the people that work in the banks is, seeing their leaders do this? Not good, and it's going to hurt that organization. Okay, learning. You're in college. You're learning some basic skills here, and something that I think gives us great comfort in the college level, and it helps me focus my teaching, is that these skills you need to learn before you go into the world of work are a couple that I try to teach here. Critical thinking, you've heard that term thrown around. I like to just call it argumentation. Do you understand how to make a case and support it with evidence? This is a basic skill that I can provide you in classes, teaching you how to make a claim. Here's what we ought to do. Here are the reasons why we ought to do that. And here is the evidence to support those reasons, drawn right from the heart of scholarly literature in our field, if you want, or from personal experience, or any number of places we can get good, solid evidence that makes a case. If you don't have those skills, you go into the organizational world and you have people saying, here's what we ought to do because it's going to make us more money. Well, they never provide any proof of that. Or we can't do this because it will fail. If they don't provide proof, the argument, things begin to fail. A college-educated person needs to learn how to see through argument fallacies, bare claims that are not backed up by any evidence. And you need these skills in argumentation. You can call it critical thinking if you want. A number of departments really focus on this, and it's an essential skill you've got to leave college with. I teach writing skills because so much of our communication is done through writing, the important things, proposals, reports, all of these things you'll have to do in the organizational world require you to be able to make an argument on paper in writing that can be passed up the line and read and taken seriously by people who make decisions. And if you're one of those who makes the decisions, you need to be able to read the proposal that are coming up the line at you from your mid-level managers and determine whether it's reasonable or not. We're back to argumentation. If those managers don't have writing skills and you don't have the writing skills to even read something that's poorly written, it's going to affect your organization. So we teach you these basic skills in the universities. We can teach you new technologies in the university, but those technologies are going to shift with time. And the skills I had in 1995 are largely obsolete. Others are not obsolete. I know how to use spreadsheets. I use spreadsheets all the time, and when I was in a management position in academia, my spreadsheets could tell me what the enrollment trends were and where I needed to add courses, when we needed to hire new faculty, and the answer is obvious. But without the skill to build these spreadsheets, which our administration wasn't really providing for us, it was just their job to keep the budget going, and they really didn't look at enrollment trends or faculty needs. That mid-level person had to do that, and having the ability to use a spreadsheet was critical. Whether it was on a Macintosh or a PC, the other technologies that have come and gone, email went from Pine to Microsoft Outlook, and we always had to learn these new things. But it was the skills of learning how to write, how to do math on spreadsheets, and just use the technology of those is just essential. You have to keep learning new technology. Here I am talking to a camera instead of just giving you PowerPoint slides to look at in this class. I had to learn to use new technology of cameras at one point. But all of this is very important. The technology will always change, and you're going to have a continual learning process in your career. But learning how to write, once you've got it, you got it. Learning how to think critically with argumentation skills, once you've got it, you've got that. Learning how to do mathematics to help you build spreadsheets, to help you manage your organizations. The math skills are the math skills. The spreadsheet will change colors and change its look, but it'll still do the same thing. Accounting programs, once you learn one, the others are pretty simple to pick up. But it's all baffling if you don't know the technology, and it will always change, and you've got to keep up on it. Okay, quickly here is effects of technology. I'm just look at this through the book and recognize, I think, this final line here. There's no such thing as a pure technology. You always have people involved. But technology can be wonderful, the utopian view, the dystopian view. Technology is going to destroy us. A neutral view may be somewhere in between. The contingent view really requires, look, there isn't pure technology. People are always involved with this in organizations. All right, back to performance management quickly to finish up. And this is a model by a theorist, Roger Dupree. The book was written in 1996, I can't recall the name of it, but he put out there a 6-part model for you, the manager, to help build employee commitment within your organization. Those employees that want to help do a better job and want to improve everything. And Dupree says, here's how you get there. It's a 6-part model of performance management, tracking how well your employees are doing, literally, of giving them raises, giving them promotions, of just getting your job done better. And it involves 6 questions. Here's the 6-part model. And the way this model works is we've kind of started in section 1 here, and we move around to section 6. It's a circular model that leads right back to number 1 again of these 6 questions. I'll back up so you can see these. The first question you as the manager has to answer is, what is my job? Employees don't always know the full scope of their job. You know, you get hired into a company to do sales, you know you're supposed to sell stuff. But there are other aspects of the job you need to know as well to help you do that. So you have to make very clear to people what exactly they're supposed to be doing. In writing is good, so people can see that. But also the emphasis you can put on certain aspects of the job, downplay other aspects, but they still have to get done. But this is most important. People need to know what their job is. You shouldn't have an employee coming up to you, even one who's been there only a week. What am I supposed to do now? And you know, I recall asking that question. And I had one boss who told me, you look around here, you look and see what needs to be done, and you can tell what's supposed to be done next. And you start doing it. If I don't like what you're doing, I'll stop you and give you some guidance. Well, that sort of worked. He put me kind of on my own 2 feet in that position that morning. And it only took him 15 seconds to do that. And he never had to stop me and tell me what to do next. But I did need to be told that part of my job was taking initiative. How am I doing? Second question. Okay, I know what my job is. How am I doing at it? Annual reviews are lousy. Quarterly reviews. How about a monthly review? Once a month, 5 minutes is far more effective than an annual review with a 30-minute meeting with the boss that makes you fear and tremble. All year long, once a month, the boss stopping by your desk, you know you're doing a great job here, and here's what I'd like you to work on doing a little bit better. It's up to you as the manager to know what that is and take some notes, maybe have a system, but then do that once a month with employees and let them know how they're doing, because people do want to do well at their jobs. Does anybody care? Well, the boss just letting you know how you're doing sends a message that it does care. But what else can you do to let the employees know that we do care that you're doing a good job? Raises are nice. If you are not able to give a raise, maybe you can be flexible in scheduling to do other favors for your employees to help them have a richer life working there at your company, and let them know, we have this flexible schedule because you've been doing a good job. We're too broke to give you a raise, but we can give you the weeks off you want for your vacation. Just anything like that, employee recognition, all of that works together. Let people know, we notice when you're doing a good job and we do care about it. Fourth question, everybody's part of a work group, and you need to know how well we are doing. I want to know how well the Communication Studies group here in the School of Communication is doing with our graduates. Are you graduating? What is our retention rate? And what is our rate of graduation? And are you getting jobs out there once you get a communication degree? It's kind of important to know that as a school or as a program in the school, our graduates are getting jobs. And how long does it take to get in the career positions? And we do try to track that. Where do we fit into the big picture? In your factory, you need to know that the speedometers you're making go on the dashboard rather than just making some weird part that you have no clue where it goes. Too many people at organizations make a widget for a larger machine and may not even know what kind of machine that is or how it's working. What is your part in this system, this network of groups that are building something, an insurance company, and you're in sales, and I mean, it's pretty obvious how you fit in there, but somebody that's in another office processing forms, how does that fit into the whole picture? People need to know how they fit in. Once these first 5 questions are answered, according to Mr. Dupree, people ask you the 6th question. How can I help make this better? Because people want to be inspired. People want to be part of something that's worthwhile in their organization. We take meaning as people from our work that we do. And we do want to help. We do want things to, I mean, there's a practical side. We want the company to succeed so we don't get laid off. But also we do want the meaning, and we will help as employees. All right, Dupree's model is very good for any manager just to get a handle on those simple ideas and work that into your own system of employee feedback and letting people know how they're doing in your organization where you manage. You're getting a college degree. If you have aspirations and you work hard, you will be asked to be in management. You will be offered these positions someday, somewhere in that area where you seem to excel. And you need to keep these principles in mind and get a handle on them now. If you go on for an MBA, you'll probably be studying many of the same things, much more in depth, much more detailed. Here I just want to introduce them in this class. Okay, I think we're done. Read your textbook, nothing replaces that. And take note of things that really strike you as important. And you will use them one day. Thanks a lot for watching.